After 1.5 years, my girlfriend ghosted me saying, "You don't make me happy." Despite my efforts, she called me names during fights and demanded I change. Now she's blocked me and I'm left heartbroken and questioning, how did I let it come to this? This is going to be a lengthy post. I started dating her approximately 1.5 years ago. I would like to share some of my personality traits first. I am a highly sensitive and emotional person who is significantly affected by those who are close to me. Human relationships are incredibly important to me, and I can never tolerate seeing people close to me becoming distant. Now let me recount the story. We worked for the same company and lived in the same apartment, meeting while commuting in a cab to the office. That is when we began conversing as strangers. We started as friends, taking walks together after work every day. As we progressed, there were of course differences as one might expect. I realized that she had more of an avoidant attachment style, being less sensitive and emotionally and mentally rigid. To put it simply, in my previous relationship, I had been with someone who responded to emotions similarly to me, but this experience was different. I noticed this from certain instances even before we started dating when we were still just friends. For example, being a gentle person, I find it difficult to engage in disputes and intense discussions due to the fear of being rude, while she was different from the beginning. She tended to adhere firmly to her point of view during discussions and did not seem to care about how her words might impact me. She remained unfazed. This emotional gap was evident to me, as I usually tend to be very considerate of others' feelings in any discussion or argument. There was also another instance during our friendship phase when she was returning to the city from her home, and I asked her if I should pick her up from the airport at 5 a.m. She declined, stating it was unnecessary, even after multiple suggestions from me. I did not overdo it at that stage as it could have appeared pushy. Therefore, I respected her decision. However, as I wanted to make a special gesture, I bought her breakfast and decided to surprise her at the entrance of my apartment early in the morning when she arrived. I waited until 6 a.m., and when she arrived, I offered to take her luggage, but she seemed cold, irritated, and refused my help. She walked to the lift and told me she did not want breakfast in a rude manner without listening to me or greeting me, proceeding straight to her home. I texted her about having breakfast together, but she declined and expressed her disappointment that I did not show up at the airport. I mentioned this instance to provide some context about her personality. Nevertheless, as we continued, I enjoyed her company and we had a wonderful time together. I was drawn to her spirituality. She often shared her spiritual beliefs and practices that she embraced after her last relationship, which endeared me to her since I had been someone who wanted to grow spiritually and sought a partner who could complement me in that regard. Things were going well, and I proposed to her 2 months after we became friends, proceeding very slowly. Our honeymoon phase was pleasant, filled with light banter and fun. However, as we moved forward, differences emerged again, particularly regarding emotions. I found her to be rude whenever she was angry. She would often call me hurtful names like F off, F you, stupid man, and asshole during her moments of anger. I realized she had anger issues and was extremely harsh with me during those times. She would label me, raise her voice, and hang up during conflicts. For me, being a sensitive person, this behavior was overwhelming from the beginning. I have never used profanities or raised my voice during arguments. It often felt like I was the one trying to resolve conflicts while she would merely place blame on me. I am not perfect, and I know that, but I believe there are two approaches. One, helping and inspiring your partner to improve. Two, merely being told about your flaws for you to deal with them. I frequently attempted the first approach, but I often found her focusing solely on my shortcomings during arguments and at times even threatened to leave if I could not rectify them. I felt like I was being scrutinized, similar to how a manager would point out issues rather than my partner offering support. This repetitive pattern caused my confidence to dwindle noticeably. Others, including friends and colleagues, noticed it in me. I began to doubt myself because I was constantly being told that all the problems were mine. My sensitivity and gentleness seemed to be perceived as weaknesses. Regardless of all our arguments and blame shifting, my intention remained to resolve issues and focus on the positives we shared. I, on the other hand, encouraged her to become a better version of herself, appreciating her small gestures and efforts. The thing is, I do not expect much from people, so small gestures mean a lot to me, while she had incredibly high expectations. At times, I felt like I was not enough for her. After a few months, she secured a job in another city and left the company we were at. She began earning more than I did, which complicating matters as we transitioned into a long-distance relationship. This made things even more challenging. I could not visit her during her initial settling-in phase because I had interviews for schools. She blamed me for not being there when she needed me. I felt guilty, but I had my reasons. I visited her a week or two later, and she criticized me for being incompetent. She was justified in her frustration, so I accepted that I couldn't visit and took responsibility for it. Things were pleasant again during the 7 days I spent with her. However, even during this time, she voiced doubts about our compatibility as a couple. Although I occasionally found this negative, I continued to maintain faith in our relationship despite everything, urging her to do the same while encouraging teamwork instead of navigating our challenges separately. As the long-distance relationship progressed, we found managing conflicts and disagreements increasingly difficult. She would cut calls, sometimes block me, or resort to name-calling during discussions. While the good times were enjoyable, the tough moments were incredibly harsh from her side. She was unforgiving regarding my mistakes. Whenever she became upset, she would hurl hurtful words at me, and when I raised this concern, she justified her anger by blaming my actions, insisting I needed to address my issues to improve our situation. Moreover, when I shared my emotions or concerns, she would dismiss them, claiming that I was merely seeking her attention or self-pity. After every conflict, I would often be the one trying to mend things and restore her good mood. Some of her complaints included being more action-oriented, truly listening instead of just hearing, not sharing details with my mom as I had once shared a picture of us with her, and she had called me miserly because we had occasionally decided to split costs for outings, expressing insecurity or possessiveness during the early stages of the long-distance relationship, and not gifting her as much as she wanted. I agreed with some of her points and took them to heart. I made several efforts to improve. I tried to be more personal about our relationship with my family and close friends, surprised her with gifts and dinners after realizing that gifts were her love language, and stopped tracking finances. Yet I noticed that during our fights, she would bring up incidents from the past, labeling me miserable and questioning why she was with such a man. Despite my efforts, I felt unappreciated for my small contributions and often faced harsh consequences for my mistakes. I became more cautious in choosing my words and actions with her, fearing her backlash and anger. Nonetheless, it hurt me that she did not recognize my efforts and disrespected me verbally during conflicts. I, on the other hand, invested everything to make our relationship work. There were times when I considered stepping back, but deep down, I knew that had I done so, our relationship wouldn't have survived. I never gave up on us and consistently pushed for collaboration on our issues. Over time, I realized that she was highly critical of others as well, which may have been the reason for her severe treatment of my shortcomings. She had few friends, making it difficult for her to bond with people. Her relationship with her flatmate in my city ended poorly. She left on bad terms with her manager at my company and did not get along with her new manager either. When she met my friends or brother, she often criticized them for being boastful or delusional regarding their comments. Her harsh judgments were challenging for both my friends and brother to hear from my partner. Whenever I was home and missed a call, she would accuse me of prioritizing my family and job over her. Recently, she had a confrontation with her manager, leading her to file a complaint against her boss. This was a significant event for her, as her boss placed her on a performance plan with a 2-month deadline. I supported her during this time by providing strategic advice and also pointed out some of her antisocial tendencies that could have contributed to her situation, hoping she could avoid a repeat occurrence. However, she started viewing my advice as an attack, claiming that I was not helpful. She expressed that no one understood her in this world, not me, not her boss, and no one else. As I mentioned, she tended to distance herself from me during my mistakes and challenging times, which continuously broke me. Nevertheless, breaking up was never an option for me. However, she frequently told me that I should not be with her, that I did not make her happy, which placed immense pressure on me. I found myself doing all the convincing since I focused on our positives. She was incredibly loyal and trustworthy. Although I had initially felt possessive, that changed due to this quality of hers. She cared for me during tough health issues, and she remained committed to our relationship. As she began contemplating marriage and started earning more than I did, she insisted that I find a higher-paying job to convince her parents of our compatibility for marriage. She outlined non-negotiables, such as not wanting interference from my parents after marriage and wanting to live independently. She asked when and how I plan to obtain a house or a car post-marriage. In the past couple of months, we engaged in continuous arguments over the phone regarding various issues. It was her birthday in February, and I could not visit her due to my uncle's 25th anniversary. I sent her a cake and a necklace, which she again failed to appreciate, stating I was useless. After speaking with her sister, she informed me that she would not be breaking up with me since her family was not thrilled about our relationship. Subsequently, she blocked me and has not spoken to me since. I have tried calling, sent gifts, and written letters, all of which have gone unanswered. I attempted to persuade her and even traveled to her city to meet her, but she refused. She threatened to file a police complaint if I continued to contact her. Regardless of everything, I truly loved her and breaking up was never an option for me. I acknowledge that I made mistakes. However, I wanted us to function as a team to resolve our issues. I have made numerous efforts to reconcile, but she no longer wishes to communicate. I cannot help but remember the good moments we've shared despite all the fights. I want her back and I miss her deeply. At times, I feel guilty about my mistakes and I do not know how to cope. I became emotionally dependent on her and I feel broken. I long for all the wonderful times we had together and wish for her return, but none of my attempts have succeeded. I despise myself for causing her sadness and making her cry. It pains me to feel inadequate. I recognize that she was not perfect, just as I am not. I never wanted her to be. I hope that we could support one another in becoming better individuals in a healthy manner. That was the essence of our relationship to me, and I did my utmost to assist her in that regard. I realized she faced challenges, but my desire was always to help. I never disowned her flaws, I only wanted to provide support. Considering all of this, I need a third-party perspective on this entire situation. What can I do from here? What could I have done better, and what is the path forward? I had envisioned this relationship lasting a lifetime, and I never anticipated it unfolding this way. Thank you in advance. Story 2. I 19 cheated on my perfect girlfriend F18 with my ex after a brief but blissful week together. My new girl was dreamy, everyone loves you already, and I threw it away in a moment of weakness, but now she's demanding I confess my betrayal to my family. What now? For context, I posted on this subreddit a while ago but ultimately deleted the post. I was in a 2-year relationship with my last girlfriend and it ended around the middle of March. I was utterly devastated and the breakup primarily resulted from my alcohol abuse and its effects on our relationship. To provide context, I would drink heavily solely because it prolonged my stamina in bed. Again, a terrible decision. During our time together, my ex and I would have sexual relations almost every single day, and the alcohol abuse escalated towards the end of the relationship, approximately in the last 6 months. Once the relationship concluded, I was completely heartbroken and had no understanding of why it was over. In the period following the breakup, I continued to drink, spiraled out of control, constantly berated my ex, and did everything possible to win her back. Although we would occasionally meet up, she would be extremely angry with me, and that essentially defined our interactions for a while. On March 29, I met a girl who was literally everything my family would have ever wanted, myself included. We were both Jewish, unlike my ex, and although I do not date based on religion or nationality, the fact that she was foreign and Jewish was a significant advantage. We were supposed to meet twice, but both plans were canceled due to concerns that I was some sort of terrible person. Eventually, I was able to meet her and her parents. We all went out to dinner and her parents liked me at first sight. I was kind, respectful, and confident. I brought large bouquets for both her and her mother. By the end of the night, her parents permitted me to take her to my aunt's birthday party where everyone from my side met her. Everyone was enamored. For context, my family completely disdained my ex because she was not mentally stable and had numerous underlying health issues. Ironically, my ex's father knew my family even before I was born. To provide even further context, one of the rabbis I attend who performed my bar mitzvah has been best friends with this new girl's family for over 35 years. So, wonderful double whammy. Now here is where things began to go awry. When I started seeing the new girl, I was still in contact with my ex because I was not prepared to enter a new relationship, despite everyone around me telling me it was time to move on. I believed them. This new girl and I would spend several days a week together and we began dating last Sunday. Yes, that's soon. This new girl literally cleaned my entire room, redecorated it, consistently washed dishes, and brought cakes when she visited. I could not have asked for a better girl to enter my life. However, I had lied to this new girl about being completely over my ex, downplaying it as no big deal. I do not expect any sympathy for my actions, but I simply want my story to be heard. This new girl was also exceptionally beautiful, no question about it. It felt like heaven on earth. Just yesterday, one of my friends invited my ex to my house without my prior knowledge, and I ultimately received a phone call from my ex stating she was outside. I stepped outside and there she was. Keep in mind that I had just begun a relationship with this new girl. I allowed my ex to come inside to discuss whatever she needed, primarily because I always cared for her despite the difficulties I endured. We sat in the living room, facing each other across the couch, and we talked for a good hour until my ex broke down, expressing how everyone just wants to use her for her body and so forth. To spare the details, this led to us sleeping together. Immediately afterward, I felt like the world's biggest monster. This new girl did everything she could to create a positive impression, and because of my attachment issues stemming from a terrible past, I ended up cheating. The aftermath was as follows. My ex informed the new girl about the situation because I had lied to my ex, claiming that I was not in a relationship when I actually was. I also told the new girl, and it went about as poorly as you might expect. It did not help that I had prom with the new girl coming up in about a week, and she insisted that I text her father regarding what happened. I complied. I wrote a lengthy paragraph explaining my sheer stupidity, admitting I was the world's biggest fool for my actions. I spoke to the new girl twice over the phone, clarifying what had transpired, and I took responsibility for my mistake. I did not want to continue lying to her. You know, the saying goes that you never realize what you had until it is gone. The new girl also told the same friend, who ironically invited my ex to my house without my knowledge, that the only way she would consider speaking to me again is if my grandfather were to talk to her. What she literally said was that she respects him greatly, and if he believes everything I did is acceptable, then perhaps she would listen to him, suggesting that if he truly wants me, he should not hesitate to inform his whole family about my actions. So now I am where I currently find myself. I have not spoken to my ex at all, nor to anyone for that matter. I genuinely wish to pursue a long-term future with this new girl, but I found myself thrown back into a moment of vulnerability and the misuse of my kindness. What should I do? Should I let the new girl go? Or should I own up to everyone, make myself look foolish, and hope that my accountability and actions speak louder than my words? For some additional context, the new girl's previous relationship ended due to infidelity, and my grandparents thoroughly despise my ex with a passion. To summarize, I cheated on my brand new, perfect girlfriend with my ex of 2 years out of pure attachment and misuse of my kindness. Things were absolutely wonderful between my new girlfriend and me. I took responsibility for my actions, and I even sent her father, as requested by the new girl, a paragraph detailing everything that happened. Now my new girlfriend, well, not anymore at the time of writing this, stated that she would only consider talking if I confessed to my entire family, who hate my ex deeply, about what I did.